Namaste, beloveds. This is Valerie Ames, aka Tia Ma'at, aka Mother with Wisdom. All of these and none of these at the same time. Um, Today is a very precious day for me because I have come to the realization of what true emptiness is. And also, I am understanding more so what the legions are that I have been carrying and that I have integrated within myself, more so than ever before. Um, and the understanding that I've come to is that this is the subconscious lineage of my ancestral, of my ancestors. And that has always been a part of me, part with me, I should say. It has always accompanied me. It was there in the womb. It is there outside of the womb. It is what it is. It is what enables me to connect with the I am. And I have a clearer understanding of that than I have ever had before. And where my own distortions came in was when my mother passed. And a part of me, in missing her, I'm going to try to put this in a way that most can understand it, captured some of her essence and refused to release it, refused to let it go because the self that recognizes herself as the personified self, so to speak, needed that, felt that she needed that in order to go forward. She needed the protection of that. She needed the energy of that. She needed to be that. She needed to become that. She needed that kind of energy because even though she had witnessed it as being the most chaotic force in her life, she also valued it a great deal and admired it and loved it unconditionally because it came in the form of her mother. This was the essence and the energy of her ancestors. This is what came through the wombs. This is what we all carry and know as the sins of the fathers, so to speak. And we embody these personality traits and these mannerisms and these characteristics, and we pay them forward and we bring them forward, and on a conscious, unconscious, and even a subconscious level, we breathe life into them and they create and manifest our realities and how we are in those realities and what lessons we bring to us to deepen our understanding of ourselves, to help us connect with ourselves. And just to give you a little bit more of that, I did that when I was 21 years old. My mother died when I was 19. My daughter had just turned 1 year old. And I was in a very hostile environment amongst my family members in Detroit. And I felt totally alone. And so at 21, I had kind of branched off and I had entered into this relationship that would last 8 years. But in that, prior to that, I had prayed, called forth, assumed the legion that was that my mother carried within her, this essence, this energy, this force that allowed her to just plow through everything. And I admired that. And that had always been my protection, or so I thought. And now I have a deeper understanding and an understanding of exactly what this legion is. This legion is all the unfulfilled ones of my ancestral line. It is all the ones who could not move on. It is all the ones that were not allowed to move on because what was here clung to them and bound them to them with their love, with their misconceptions of love. There can be no emptiness when you have this kind of legion. That which observes the legion is most indulgent, is unconditional love. And when you get to a certain stillness, and when you get to sit on the lap and suckle from this all accepting, non judging, loving, energetic vibration that says, I am your true mirror. You look at the legion and you say, yes, I can let you go now. I can release you fully. Because I no longer need to identify myself with your knowing and your ways. I have remembered. I have seen my own. And now I can be empty. And I can be fully me in ways that not even the subconscious would allow me to see because I was not ready. And in going through all that I have gone through and knowing that I am now on the other side of it, there is such immense gratitude, such immense gratitude. These are not words. These are heartfelt vibrations that I'm sharing with you. And I really hope you can identify that all that I have gone through, all that I have worked out, this was my destiny. This is my destiny. And I am no longer afraid of embracing it fully. There is nothing that is going to trick me. There is nothing that can. There is nothing that I need to escape from. There is nothing that can trap me. The only thing I fight or have fought was myself. And this legion that was guiding me to this moment so that it too could be released and freed, transmuted, transcend, and ascend past the frequencies that it has known even. This is a healing that reverberates. This is the healing of the sun rays being felt, the warmth, the light, the pure light, the ultraviolet rays that cannot even be picked up with the awareness of the physical, but is felt and is known in the ethereal. Um, there's not too much more to say on the legion and the emptiness and the letting go and the transmutation of the poisons that have taken place, the understanding of the 7 generations forward and backwards, the understanding of the bloodlines, the understanding of the intricacy of the 3 strands of consciousness: conscious, unconscious, and subconscious, mind, body, spirit. This is our true essence. And when we are able to unite them and become one, when that masculine and feminine have that baby, that Holy Spirit, that grace that allows the two to become one again and again and again and again. This is the sweetest of fruits. It feeds the spirit. It nourishes and gives bliss Unbelievable bliss. Um, that is all I'm going to say on that. It is there for you to unravel if you must. If more will come forth from that, but right now that is going to be that. Um, with sharing that, and I had shared before how I had held on to my mother's attachments, and I attached them to myself, and she had attached them to herself, and so forth and so forth and so forth and so forth. And we, as wombs and water bearers, gave birth to these legions. And now it is time to thank them, thank the many lessons, and go back to speaking the one language again, the language without separation, without the need for separation. What was given to me was to, in here, and I'm just going to read it. And so far it has been 3 chapters, 9, 10, and 11. And we'll see if we get to 12, if I'm led that way. But what I'm getting ready to share with you right now is directly from the I am that I am. Here we go. And this is coming from the 2013 Oracle, Ancient Keys to the 2012 Awakening by David Carson, author of Medicine Cards, Nina Sammons, and art by Gigi Bori. And again, we're going to start with World Tree. And this is the World Tree. Huh. This is the picture for World Tree, and it is the hummingbirds. One flying up, one flying down. You see the trees, one up and one down, red and blue, and you see it as a diamond shape, which is also constructed of 4 pyramids, 4 triangles. So, here we go. This again is number 9, World Tree, and is called centeredness. When you sit, when you sit beneath the limbs of the sacred tree, light dapples the earth, and you are feathered by sun eagle and hummingbird with gold, green, yellow. This is a message from Excel Energy for Valerie. Okay, let me begin again, beloveds, because energies are trying to do what they do. But here we go. World Tree, centeredness. When you sit beneath, and let me say this, as I was reading this myself, for myself, when Spirit first gave it to me, I thought of all the saints and the ascended masters and their connection to the trees. And they're always going to the trees and to sit with the trees and just the stories, and the trees would always gift them with something. So this resonated so deeply with me. And here we go. When you sit beneath the limbs of the sacred tree, light dapples the earth, and you are feathered by sun eagle and hummingbird with gold, green, yellow, and crimson. The galactic tree is the giver of a new light of consciousness. The mystical tree of life is complete. Venus has risen over the branches of this glorious tree. World Tree is calling her children to come and find refuge and renewal. Come and rest under my branches. Here you will find communion. All are welcome at the base of the healing tree, the medicine tree of the people. I am sacred, she says. Use me for your spiritual purposes. Long ago, Turkey and Tree had a contest to see who could give the greatest gifts. Tree won with her first breath. Honor the sacred tree, the breathing tree, for she literally gives you life. Tree embodies completion and perfection, which are qualities of the number 9. Where there is a tree, there is holiness and power. Each and every tree has ritual and ceremonial importance. A tree binds the 4 directions of the cosmos together. The roots bind together the 4 sides of earth. Trees have a language and they speak to one another. And this mythical line of communication exists between humans and trees. Humans give their sacred gifts to trees because they are a direct connection to the galactic tree. Each of us, just as we have a birthday, a birthstone, an angel that guides us, there's also a tree that each of us is born with. Mine is willow. What is yours? Google it and find out. It will have a special message for you and special meaning to you. The weeping willow. Go to the tree. Put your hands against the trunk and pray. Thank the tree for your life. Trees have cosmic healing powers. Sit under trees. This act restores psychological calm and mental clarity. I'm going to say that again to you, beloveds, because it is of the utmost importance. And I really want you to get what Spirit is feeding you this morning. She's telling you to take care of the trees on the earth, to go and be centered by them, to let them realign you psychologically and give you the calm that you need, as well as the mental clarity that comes from the pure oxygen of the tree. And you breathe the carbon dioxide. So there is a spiritual exchange of breath. And you have to ask for what you want. Ask for that peace of mind. Ask to be empty, devoid of the mind chatter, the imps that live in the mind, that ego. Ask to press a mute button on it or to turn down the volume of it until you identify it as your legion and can let it go. Because in the act of letting it go, that is the greatest form of self-love. That is your destiny. That is your purpose. To free this legion within yourself and to let it transcend. Let me move forward. 2525. Wow. Okay. The branching and flowering tree is the holy tree at the center of the seven spheres of the worlds. There are more roots than branches, say the old ones, when they are teaching the law of correspondence. Pay attention. Google the law of correspondence. It will have great meaning to you in emptying yourself and knowing, being good with the emptying, knowing that that is the safest, best, most practical, most blissful gift that you can give yourself. There are more roots than branches. Pay attention to that. Understand the above and the below of that. Understand that we rise, we are not going lower. And it is the roots that wants us to know that we are grounded. And no matter how high we go, we will always be rooted. We will always be nourished. We will always have the guidance. We will always be anchored. What is above is also below. World Tree says, come to the perfect center, to the great indwelling power. She is the spirit of all trees. The roots of the world tree go to the absolute bottom of the universe, and the branches reach to the absolute top. This tree contains the principle of all trees, and yet it does not contain the principle of all trees. It is the sprouting tree of the beginning, and yet it has no beginning. It is beyond time, but it is also in it. It is the fallen tree of the ending, and yet it never ends. This is the paradox. This is the riddle of the Sphinx that has been resolved. It is forever beginning and ending, and between the uppermost branches and the deepest roots exist countless worlds, and each world contains infinities of others. World Tree is the sacred tree and stands at the living center of the nation and the world. She is the tree of counsel. The trunk is the connection of the earth below and the sky above. She is eternally embraced by a double pyramid of light. The two flower eagles, hummingbirds, bring a sunbeam and attach it to the rainbow. The light is ethereal and purifying. The rays that bathe the tree are creative as well as recreative because of its double nature, male and female. The four elements are in the tree. There is water in the earth, and radiation from the sun moves through the air. The holy tree is a place for celebration and dance, a place of sacrifice. It is a refuge of harmony and universal order. It is any wonder, is it any wonder that so many sages have received enlightenment at the base of a sacred tree? The world tree represents fullness of mind and spiritual teaching toward the ultimate. Adepts have always sought the exquisite blossoms on the tree of life. Hovering near the flowering tree, hummingbirds are a sign of fruitfulness and well being. Tree energy protects children and assists them in their daily life's journey. World Tree card indicates steady future growth because of your well rooted actions. It presages the bearing of fruit from your labors, the good fruit from the good tree. And to taste of this fruit is to taste and realize new possibilities. Go ahead and sample sweet fruits from this magnificent tree. The world tree always speaks of balance within the situation or question and suggests ways you can create it. Let this sacred tree teach you how to be yourself, to grow and nourish in stately grace. With this spirit tree, you can be perfect and complete. Let wholeness and sacredness emanate from you. Become one with this great tree of life. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that wisdom? I bathed in its radiance this morning. I am still basking in the purity of its truth and the realizations that all of this has been in the subconscious. And at any time, it was there for me to grasp it. But consciously, I had to be ready. And I had to believe that I could grasp it. Not only that I could grasp it, but that it was mine to grasp. That is the key. Many of us do not feel worthy to grasp it. And that is in the unconscious. Those are the unconscious seeds of the legions of the sins of the Father. We're not conscious of it. All we do is just feel it, or we hear about it from the mind. And of course, we have been programmed to believe whatever the mind says, because the mind wants us to believe that it is God. Because it is so full with all these legions of voices and lives that have been lived and feelings and emotions and thoughts. It does not want you to grasp that it is the emptiness that is God. And being empty is to be godlike, not to be full with all this legion of information that takes you out of alignment. Information that takes you out of spiritual alignment. That is your cross that you have been bearing. But it is the dove with the olive branch that shows you be empty. And sit at the feet of the trees, baby, and you will be all good. Next is 10, which also blew me away because 3524. It is woolly mammoth, okay? And that has always been my totem. That has always been, the behemoth has always been an identification for me. And I'll just get to it. Woolly mammoth is ancestors. Our ancestors are sacred. The number 10 symbolizes our ancestors who have crossed over to the next world. They have completed the journey of 1 through 9. 10 represents their transition to the next world. And like I said, some of us hold on to parts of our ancestors, those parts that have not transcended, those parts that have not left the energy of them, the thoughts of them, the negative and the positivity of them, those things that they left for us. This is what I collected and stored and held on to, and this is what I have been identifying as my identity and who I am, and that to give it up is to disown all that have come before me. But the truth of the matter is to be able to release this energy, this identity, is to free them and free myself. It is a form of cycle pump. And each of us needs to do this. Look into it, explore it until you feel comfortable enough, until you arrive at the place of emptiness where you value it more than this collection, because you know that in the emptiness, this collection belongs. And to not allow them entry into the emptiness is to keep them and yourself a prisoner in this dimension. Okay. Whew. um. Woolly Mammoth asks you to be conscious of the next 7 generations. We will one day have the distinction of being ancestors. It is certainly our hope that future generations will honor us and remember us. Native American and Native Mesoamerican know full well that human history can be destroyed by disease and genocide, and gaping holes can be left in the fabric of people's lives. The transmission of information from the older generation to the next can end suddenly. And that's what they're trying to do with the robots, the artificial intelligence. Okay. The doors between two human errors are slammed shut with a horrifying finality. However, children are born, and with the first breath they take, they sense the presence of the ancestors. Our ancestors are our woolly mammoth teaches that ancestors are always near. Our ancestors are our legacy. It is dangerous to ignore your heritage, your birthright. It doesn't matter what that birthright may be. If your ancestors were good or evil, ignorant or realized people, they survived and are a link to you. Your ancestors call for acknowledgement and ceremony. Heed the call. Heed the call. Honor your birthright. Honor those who brought it to you, who are the links to that birthright, no matter if you view them as being evil or ignorant or slaves or whatever. They are the true link to your birthright. Without them, you would have no right to it. You would have no right to your identification, to your truth, to your true value, to your worth. There would be no way to realize it without them. So release the judgment of them. Release the attachment and need to fix them or erase what they did or manage what they did or be embarrassed or feel a certain way. They served the divine by providing the necessary link for you in this moment to awaken to your birthright and for you to fulfill your destiny. Honor them. Honor them by accepting what they left you as your birthright and letting them go. Not constantly putting them to the cross, not constantly beating and whipping them for what you feel they lacked to give you or they did not give you or what they should have done. This is your birthright. They served. Now it is your turn to serve. Wake up. Empty yourself of what does not serve. Find the stillness with the trees, with the water and nature. Let it cleanse and clarify you psychologically. Let it turn off that alarm of anxiety within you. That feels you always have to be doing something. You always have to be achieving. This is the greatest achievement for you to empty yourself. And beloveds, whew, that is a job. That is a hell of a job. You talking about a grind? Baby, baby. But you have it in you. We all have it in us. We just have to want it. And it is a puzzle like a Rubik's Cube that has to be aligned for you to see it. And subconsciously, you've been prepared. Now you just have to do it consciously. Okay. We all want to be remembered. Follow the custom of visiting the burial sites of your dead relatives. Spend reverential time there. Leave a little pinch of tobacco or other small gifts. Leave your prayer ties in a tree near their grave. Sacrifice to the ancestors by burning sage, copal, or some other incense. If this is not possible, build an ancestral altar in your home and do rituals to their memory. Traditionally, these altars are built in the West. And what came about with the word West for me is that this is what America is representing. It is representing the altar that will serve to remember the ancestors because this is the melting pot. This is where blood and soil have joined together to represent the entire world. Okay. Call out to the ancient ones. Listen. Let them energize and protect you. The woolly mammoth, the trumpeting woolly mammoth brings you strength from the ancestors. She can grant any wish. So if your question is about a hope, expect a positive outcome. Woolly mammoth rests in the shade of the ascending tree. The sacred tree of life holds the blooms of the precious ones. She can find nourishing fullness in the shadow of this ancient tree. In a long, in a time long past, the people uncovered bones of incredible length and diameter buried in the earth. The people knew these remains belonged to a creature of massive proportions that had walked the land in the days of the ancestors. This place of discovery was called Where They Are Broad Shouldered. Withdrawn from the earth, the bones were honored in a sacred space and revered as being the testimony of giants who came before us, literally and figuratively, metaphorically, spiritually, the whole gamut. Okay, here we go. Hold on just a second, beloveds, because I'm getting cold now, which means there is an increase in spiritual energy around me. So just bear with me, okay? Woolly Mammoth card evokes ancestral protection for the less able who are weakened in mind, body, or spirit and need to be held in a supportive realm so they can develop. Remember how elephants protect the young. They form a circle and they put them inside of it so that they are supported on all sides and they are protected on all sides. Understand the sacredness and the messages. See beyond what is shown. Hear beyond what is spoken. Woolly Mammoth can discern the spiritual family you belong to and practices that will be most conducive to your spiritual growth. The prehistoric creature reveals ways for you and your descendants to be strong and healthy as you move into the future. You may feel unfamiliar with the spirit world, but all around us are gifts from the past, buildings, inventions, philosophies, and the nomenclature of life as we know it in modern times. Let though these manifestations speak to your consciousness. Experience and reason form only a small part of our perceptions of reality. I'm going to read that again because there is a lot of energy coming from that sentence. Experience and reason form only a small part of our perceptions of reality. The card suggests you can learn to communicate with your ancestors. Open yourself to the daily signs and occurrences that hold deeper meaning for you. Press on with your life, but remember your origins. Walk the spiritual road to the bridge of the old souls, your ancestors. Go in spirit to where they live amidst the pebbly stars by using intuition, divination, prayer, and other methods. We can catch that sacred blast from the past. This is Woolly Mammoth's teaching, and I'm being shown 10,000 BC, which is one of my favorite movies. And it, when I first when I first saw it, I identified with the young girl with the blue eyes. And those same blue eyes came up in um, Memoirs of a Geisha. And those eyes are called water eyes, the river eyes, the storm god eyes, storm goddess eyes, the many waters. In the X-Men, Storm has those eyes. And if you do your research, Storm is related to the storm goddesses. They were actual beings. That is where her story came from. These are ancestors. Okay, 11. Red parrot, hearing. And I'm going to show you the parrots. And again, one is up and one is down. Just as the woolly mammoth, one was up and one was down. Just like Pisces, the fish, the season, the age that we're leaving. Excuse me, I'm pulling down my clothes. Okay. Let's just get to it, beloveds. 11. Red parrot, hearing. Red parrot is associated with the number 11, which the Mayans represented with two horizontal bars with a single dot above. Each horizontal bar, like the rung of a ladder, is a new level of reality, a new world. The dot is the seed sown in the ground of the new world, containing the spark of all its potential. Sounds like the Transformer spark, huh? At noon, so that's 12, which is a 3, which is mama, father, and the baby. At noon, the spirit of Sunface, the fire, the red parrot, would come sweeping down from the sky to rekindle the sacrificial flames. Red parrot, like the scarlet macaw, is considered precious and is also associated with hearing. Red parrots travel in pairs and are called sacred red twins. Twin flames, beloveds. Twin flames. Sacred red twins, guardians of the red echo. The red echo. the vibrations of the root chakra, the ancestral. Huh? Sound, a gift from the ether, seeds our world. Red Parrot reminds us that there can be no sound without silence. Shut up. Whew. Okay, that is deep. How do you get to the emptiness? Through the silence. When you become so aware of the mind chatter, of the voices, of being mindful, of being conscious, of also your unconscious and also the subconscious. That is the contrast that is needed for you to understand the silence and appreciate the emptiness of the silence, and for you to choose which do you prefer. And then the understanding is there is no choice because they are indeed one, and you have to be one with them, and you have to allow. You are the link, you are the bridge between the two. That is your purpose. Red Parrot reminds us that there can be no sound without silence. There is a fracturing of the celestial harmonies and the manner and form in which we hear. Red Parrot with fire and hearing medicines teaches us to listen carefully so that we might hear original music, the sound that carries the name of the Holy One. Red Parrot Woman prophesied to the people in olden times. She was a tiny native woman in a red hat and a red coat. She was holy. Once, two red parrots came to the village square and began to make a loud squawking. The people got fed up with the noise and threw stones at the stones. Threw stones at them. But still, the birds didn't budge, squawking louder. Day and night, the wise elders went to the birds and asked what they wanted to tell them. The elders could not understand the squawks of the red parrots. People had lost their ability to communicate with other forms of life. And beloveds, if you have been following me, you know that when I was in California, um, I awoke to a raven speaking to me, which is just, as this is continuing to unfold, I am just so grateful to be aware and awoke enough to be used in this manner. Now, there were at this time holy twins named Lizard and Magpie. The twins lived in a grove of trees outside the village with their father. The twins talked with trees. They talked to stones. They even talked to the wind. The people deeply respected and acknowledged these powers of the twins. The elders went to the twins' father and asked if the twins could come and tell them what the red parrots wanted. The father agreed to this. Magpie and Lizard were taken before the red parrots. The twin children squawked, and the red parrots squawked back for a long time. Then the twins informed the people that the birds predicted the coming of a violent people in wind-driven canoes. This tribe would be dressed in metal garments. They would ride on the backs of enormous dogs. They would bring unknown diseases with no cures, wars, destruction, misuse of sacred tobacco and other sacred plants and animals, new gods, and eventually they would be death bringing monsters made of metal appearing on the earth and in the sky. There would be no way to prevent these things from happening. Sadly, the minds of the people were closed to prophecies. They could not hear and comprehend the words the twins spoke. They could not hear and comprehend. Whew, sorry. They could not hear and comprehend the words the twins spoke. Years later, the people were completely unprepared. On Facebook, I have been doing the paradox, going through what paradox is, and that paradox is found in the subconscious. And it is only in the subconscious can paradox be kind of understood. And it is the subconscious that has been preparing us for this point that we have reached right now. So, beloveds, we have had these prophecies, but just like these ones, we had not been prepared to listen to them. But with the way the world is now and the things that we are seeing and experiencing, we are ready. We have been prepared. And now we just want the answers. And the answers are being given. You just have to take these answers into your subconscious and work them out so that you can empty yourself of all the old information that cause the fractions, that cause and continue the separation from who you truly are. That is your blindfold. Take it off, throw it away. It no longer serves, no longer protects. You can see now what you need to see. And know that there is peace on the other side of that seeing and knowing and acknowledging and being and becoming more of. 1333. Okay. Years later, the people were completely unprepared for the arrival of the ferocious men dressed in metal. Red parrot is associated with the ears. These birds have developed superb powers of hearing and are able to mimic the slightest nuance of human language. Red parrot has the ability to hear sounds from a great distance. Red parrots are the keepers of the powers of clairaudience. The ancients knew how to use this ability. This just took me to the movie, I can't think of it, with Sandra Bullock, and they had to wear the masks, the blindfolds, but they could hear. And if they took off the blindfold, they would see, and what they would see would overwhelm them. But as long as they couldn't see it, long as they could just hear it, they could be okay. That has depth to it, beloveds. That you are being prepared for something with that, okay? Nothing is coincidence. Nothing is coincidence. Red parrot is associated with the ears. These birds have developed superpowers of hearing and are able to mimic the slightest nuance of human language. Red parrot has the ability to hear sounds from a great distance. Red parrots are the keepers of the powers of clairaudience. The ancients knew how to use this ability. Red parrot has the ability to project sound that can clearly be heard at a long distance. Oddly enough, the power dwells behind the bird's eyelids. Ooh, get it, mama. Get it. Get it, write it, mama. Get it. To the glory, to the glory, to the glory, to the glory. Okay? You cannot doubt. You know, people can take credit all they want for things, but when you know who the credit belongs to, can't touch that. And I am thankful. Let me clear that up. That is not a denigration of those who have served the mama. Because as you can see, this serves her purpose. And we are all tools in her toolbox. From those who thought it, brought it up out of their subconscious, to those who copyrighted and wrote it again and rewrote it and edited and got the actors and everything else, and those that watched it, those that understood it, those who are still trying to understand the message of it. Understand the interconnectedness. There is no separation. There is no superiority or inferiority. There is only oneness. But you have to still the mind to appreciate that. Red parrot has the ability to project sound that. Okay, I read that. Red parrot feathers are bound with rain and sun. Red parrot's feathers are used in music making to conjure the intricate red rainbow of sound. Red parrot instructs us to always hear what is being said. Deep inside the great silence, there is a song from yourself to yourself. That is the song I've been listening to. That is the song that has been playing on loop for me. The sound is quick and delicate. The inner you calls within the deep stillness, and the inner you hears the call and understands the oneness of all creation. Red Parrot card is telling you that you are not listening, or you are listening to the wrong stuff. You aren't hearing beyond your own noise. You aren't hearing beyond your own noise. So, excuse me, beloveds, when I spoke of the legions and that being what I received from the womb and what I held on to after my mother passed, and what I took into myself, onto myself, and intertwined and integrated within myself. And it made me sick, but I held on to it anyway. Up until this point, because it filled me. It filled me. And the child in me knew what emptiness is, and that is the space, because I would run. I would often go, just leave the world in nature, because that was where the psychological clarity and the stillness resided. But in trying to be a responsible human being and to be normal and to fit into a world that I knew I did not belong, has caused all kinds of habits and addictions and attachments. And these can only be dissolved when you go back to the stillness and you realize that this is home. The stillness is the true home for me. This is where I belong. I don't belong in this manifested reality that the mind needs to exist. I can exist. I do exist. I have always existed. There will never be a point where I do not exist. That is the protection. That is the safety. That is the belonging. That is my normal. That is my home. So I'm ready to be empty. I am empty. And I'm not filling myself up with crap anymore. It's not. It does not serve. It never has. That is the illusion. 11257. Red Parrot card is telling you that you are not listening, or you are listening to the wrong stuff. You aren't hearing beyond your own noise. Listen. Listen well. Tune in and hear deeply the sounds generated by the world: wind, rain, sirens, traffic, human and animal language. Listen to the insect musicians playing and singing their unearthly choral. Listen to the beat and rhythms of life, the poetry of simple sound. Really listen up, is Red Parrot's message, for there is an answer waiting for you. You might be sitting in a cafe, and I watched Muji sitting in a cafe last night before bed. Wow. Okay. You might be sitting in a cafe or enjoying yourself at a party, and you overhear precisely the information you need. If you have ears, make Red Parrot happy and use them. Your inner voice may tell you where to find a new friend or make connection with an old one. The answer to a haunting question you have been struggling with is near. I told you, but you didn't listen to me. Squawks Red Parrot. The noise and sound pollution in the world today lead us to tune out. Red Parrot card asks, and there too many voices bombard you. Are there too many voices bombarding you? Be selective. Embrace life and drop the illusionary. Choose carefully what you listen to and turn off the noise makers. Learn to listen with discernment. Red Parrot Card reminds us, as sons and daughters of the hummingbird, of the humming earth, to turn to the heavens and listen. The answers to our current dilemmas cascade down from the great silence. Listen, listen, Red Parrot says. Listen, and you may truly know what the galactic wind is saying. You may even hear the voice of voices. And I am going to end it there. Number 12 is okay, Mama. Okay. Okay, we will do number 12, which is Scorpion. I'm being told to do this. Scorpion, number 12, Retribution. Um 12 is 3, beloveds. We're living in a 3. This is 2019 is 3. Beware! Scorpion throws curves in a major scale. The signature of 12 symbolizes cosmic winds and the laws of celestial symmetry. 12 is the lost wisdom number of mystical emanations and is the 12th fluctuation which can break patterns within oscillations. The Western world plays the number 12 by doing the solar dozens with their calendar months. Education in the ancient societies was open to girls and boys of all classes. However, the training was so demanding, very few became priests or priestesses. The combination of vigorous physical challenges and the intellectual capacity required of the mystical brother and sisterhoods were met by only a handful of highly disciplined individuals. Children, beginning at the temple schools, were faced with deprivation and even death. They slept on reed mats on stone floors. They subsisted on gruel and water. They were sent forth to gather up venomous scorpions that skittered through the night shadows. If a child was stung, he or she suffered terribly and rarely survived. Upon recovery, whatever the outcome, the child was dismissed from the temple school. Only those children with the dexterity, temerity, and smarts to capture the scorpions night after night were initiated to the next level. How hereafter they were given the wisdom of the cosmos as they were trained in sacred mathematics, astronomy, and ceremony. They were taught the languages of animals, the jaguar, the eagle, and the great horned owl. They were readied to hold the interface between heaven and earth, no longer simply human. They offered their intellect and physical being to the great round of activity that kept the planet in right relation to the sun, moon, Venus, and all inhabitants of our galaxy. The temple priests and priestesses coated themselves with black body paint containing scorched scorpions. This paste had a psychotropic ingredient that opened doors to other worlds, which ceremonial leaders could enter. As the sacred calendar was set forth with a ceremony every 20 days, constant fasting, auto sacrifice, dreaming, prognostication, and calculation was required on part of the temple technicians. One of the most rigorous cycles required the temple leader to pierce his tongue with sharp sticks the size of an index finger. The blood was caught and offered in supplication. The cycle of sacrifice, purification, and regeneration was repeated endlessly at the temple. All this activity was overseen by the black god M, the star scorpion. His tail was the terrible black sacrificial knife constantly drilling for fire. It is said that there is a wheel of sorrow and retribution in life. We walk the way of good and evil. The wheel turns in endless cycles of learning life lessons. Some people trip, lose their balance, and fall into suffering and pain. They encounter brutality and ignorance. These are the hell divers that have stumbled on hatred, greed, and enmity. Watch your step. Scorpion smiles and waits for you at the end of the pebbly river, the Milky Way galaxy. The eye of the scorpion is a cruel one. In this mirror eye, we clearly see our unbalanced judgments and insatiable drive for power over others. We seek to punish those we imagine have wounded us. Retribution is a vial of spiritual poison distilled from the blossoms of hatred and fear. The flowering of this evil plant is often rooted in injustice and ego distortion. It can cause sickness and feelings of inadequacy and distress. It is a garden sown with the bitter weeds of jealousy and anger. Pregnant women once wore the tattooed image of the scorpion over their navels because of its life bridging power. It was called to the pathways of stars to send a healthy spirit to the fetus. Scorpion is the hinge that swings open the door of life and death, offering protection or assault. Here choices are weighed. This portal is a difficult passageway to enter. Scorpion is saying, don't look outside. Misfortune, casualty, and acts of another do not exist in the nest of the scorpion. You receive according to what you do. Scorpion presents us a gift for changing our restricted point of view so that we can again harmonize with the subtle music of the spheres. Scorpion instructs us to pay attention to our activities and involvements. Beware of too much passion. Beware of vices and the consequent humiliation when you fall prey to them. Be wary of impure thoughts or intense feelings that may lead to poor judgment. You may find yourself in the land of hungry ghosts, the dimension of greed, selfishness, addiction, and insatiable lust. Scorpion teaches many lessons. Scorpion gives an opportunity to learn from painful mistakes. The sting of Scorpion ends our complacency immediately. We scream and curse our predicament. Wisdom is born from it. Scorpion teaches us to laugh and cry in full measure. She often brings a sting to our ego and our ignorance. And in this destructive act, she creates anew. Scorpion teases with her poisoned scimitar. She will sting herself to death rather than surrender to any power. Call on Scorpion and always fight for your right to be. She dances a dance of no return and instructs us that we do the same. This goes to the story of Isis and the seven scorpions that has been preparing me to receive this. That is the card that just kept coming up, and I'll bring some stuff up on Facebook concerning it. But Isis and the seven scorpions, beloved. And for me, those seven scorpions represent relationships. So it's like I said, it's deeper than deep. Scorpion is a guardian of farmers and gardeners. She tells you to prepare the ground and plant your garden. Scorpion advises you not to lie and strictly honor your word. Examine contracts carefully before signing. Scorpion card can give you beneficial advice on health issues. You may have to visit the family hearth and do some politicking. Scorpion dances the cosmic dance just as the sun and stars dance. The earth is a dancing dervish whirling in space. We human beings dance a sacred dance inside the hallowed circle of eternity. We are all artisans of the dance and the ceremony of life. Remember, you may not be responsible for the tune, but you are certainly responsible for your own choreography. Learn from Scorpion. Dance your dance with consciousness and passion. How beautiful is that, beloveds? How beautiful is that? And we are going to end it right there. And the next card is 13, tobacco, which is truth. But I'm not going there. I'll go there on my own. Um, Again, this was the 2013 Oracle. Ancient Keys to the 2012 Awakening by David Carson, author of the Medicine Cards, and Nina Sammons, and art by Gigi Bori. And like I said, I woke up with the understanding of the Legion and the need to empty myself and what the Legion is, because I never truly understood what the Legion was. I only knew that it existed and I heard it and it was there and I spoke from it and I acted from it and whatever. But I never knew that it was my entire lineage. And the parts and fragments that were not able to ascend or to transmute or to leave and go to the next phase. These were leftover seedlings, so to speak. And me being as conscious as I am, I've always been aware of them and able to hear them and able to, like I said, connect with them on so many different levels from the womb forward. And with my mother passing, in order to keep myself here, I chose to allow that legion to just take over, take over the stillness, take over the quietness. And I could retreat there, but I couldn't stay for any length of time. And now I can dwell there. I can tap in for longer and longer periods. And as I am completely emptying myself, that stillness will be my refuge once again. And if I can do it, beloveds, so can you. If I can do it, so can you. And that is what I'm sharing. And that is why I'm sharing. Because it is each of our destiny to reach this understanding and understanding. It is a receiving and a giving all at the same time. So, namaste, beloveds. And thank you for accompanying me on this journey. Thank you for for serving in whatever capacity you have served. I honor your service. with unconditional love and 100% forgiveness, just as I forgive myself. For what? Evolving, learning. When you get to a certain point, you understand that forgiveness is just a word like thank you or an apology. It is not a state or a consciousness. Okay, that's going to be it. Um, Again, namaste and thank you, beloveds. Hmm. Okay.